we in frame? Oh, we are in frame.
Yes, we are in frame.
Oh, how do you do?
So, this is Joel from the Rock Island Auction Company.
Hey, gang.
And I am here actually at my first Rock Island auction that I've actually physically attended, which has been a lot of fun. And I won a gun lot today, which will be showing up in a video in a little while. I don't know exactly when. But Joel and I were sitting back here after the auction and basically just kind of randomly chatting about auction stuff and realized, hey, we ought to like flip on the camera because this is some good stuff.
This might be interesting to somebody else.
Yes, so specifically we were talking about the difference between the premier auctions and what used to be the regionals, which are now annoyingly renamed to sporting and collectors, but I like regional. It was a lot fewer syllables.
It's so much easier to say.
Yeah. But the thing that came up, like, actually what brought this up is I ran into a kid outside, cool guy, recognized the channel, big fan, and he showed up here and he was interested in buying a lot. In fact, his lot sells in like 20 minutes, so we don't yet know if he'll win it. But it was a lot of an M1 Garand and a Winchester 1897 trench gun.
It's a good lot.
You'd think so. Estimate is like $1,200 to $1,700. At which point I go,
A little low.
either something's wrong with something, or it's going to go a lot higher than that estimate. And so I asked him, like, did you take a look at it? He went, no, because it's like they rope off or close off the preview of the guns that are for sale that day because they're going to start sorting and packing and getting all that stuff done.
Yeah, essentially they're sold. They're going to be somebody else's very soon, so keep your grubby mitts off them.
Yeah, basically. So because I have the ability to do it here, I'm like, okay, this is a young kid, and I'm like, I don't want to see you get screwed for what's probably going to be close to $2,000 if this isn't a gun that you actually, if it's not what you think it is. So I went in the back and I grabbed it and I brought it out so he could take a look at it.
He had not had the chance
Correct.
to look at that yet.
Yes. He didn't come for the preview day. He just showed up for the actual day of the sale. And that 1897 was Frankengun. So the front and the back didn't match. Like the patina, the finish wear was clearly different. To the extent that there was any finish on it, it was a very heavily worn gun. The heat shield was totally in the white. Someone had a long time ago, stuck a rubber recoil pad on the stock.
So what did we decide though? It was a legit trench shotgun at one time, like the receiver barrel probably.
I think so.
But since then, which is why they're able to sell it as such. However, since then, which is why you come to sporting and collector firearms auctions, you're encouraged to come.
Right. But as you said, like, okay, that gun, at that price, that gun is either a Franken gun, it's either a shooter or a project, which is fine. That's a legit thing, but it's something important to recognize.
Yeah.
And that's at the regional / sporting and collector auctions where the lower price stuff shows up and it gets bundled together. And your point was you can, if you do all the work yourself, you can find good stuff for a better price.
It's like home improvement or car repair.
Yeah.
You can pay somebody to do it, and obviously you have the upfront cost, or you can do it yourself and save a little money, but you do more work. So Premier and regional, we kind of made the analogy that Premier auctions are very high quality, and they're pretty much vetted. I mean, not only they guarantee the headlines in a Premier auction, you know what you're getting. You get the full condition, or the description and condition statement, like, you know for sure, and it's vetted. The regional auctions, and you're going to pay. You're going to pay for that security, essentially.
Yeah.
And in a sporting and collector firearms auction, you're going to look for it. It is not vetted. They don't have a full condition statement. You get like a letter grade.
Right.
There's not a written description. You better know and
It's up
come
to you.
correct. Yeah, so when you look at a trench shotgun like that, if you see there are 2 different varnishes in the wood, or a rubber butt pad that's not supposed to be there, or a heat shield that looks like black lacquered, you should know. And if you know that that's what you're getting and you're okay with paying that price, kudos, more power to you. But yeah, if you think you're getting a pristine or all original trench shotgun for that price, you will be disappointed.
Yes. Yeah. There are some cool treasures in those sorts of auctions, but it's up to you to search them out and find them.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things here is there's a preview day the day before the auction.
Yeah.
Everything is out, and it's a giant gun show. And you guys are real upfront about, like, I saw some people asking online, they're like, is there a fee to get in? No, it's part of what they're doing to try and get people to bid in the auction.
Open to the public.
Right. And you guys are real upfront about, you don't have to buy anything, you don't have to pay to come in, show up, look at the guns. And from my perspective, I think that's a tremendous learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So much of this stuff, you can only learn so much with books and the internet. And at some point you have to actually put your hands on the guns and see them in person and see a lot of different examples. And then you start to recognize what's typical, what's atypical. What does an original finish look like? What does a refinished gun look like? What's Parkerizing supposed to look like? What are the different styles of bluing?
Markings, appropriate markings. And
Right.
you hang out here long enough, you start to learn what conditions and variations equate to what prices you can
Right.
start to expect.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, people who are in this area around the Quad Cities, man, you guys have a fantastic opportunity to show up here and peruse it. I mean, you don't have to buy a single thing, and they'll probably give you like free lunch and snacks for showing up.
free donuts in the morning anyway.
There you go. And you have this chance to look at and really just build your own knowledge base, which is awesome.
Yeah. To see multiple variations of something like right here in the same room. Like, where else are you going to find that? I mean, gun shows have changed pretty dramatically over the last 30, 40 years.
Right, gun shows used to be like that.
Yeah.
I think, I'm told.
Yeah.
That's kind of before my day.
Yeah.
Today, there's a lot less of this stuff available at gun shows.
There's a lot, at least the ones I've been to, there's more of a modern focus, less collector grade goodies
Yeah.
that are around and about, and maybe it's because there's, I don't know, maybe the market, whether the margins aren't as good on that as they are for selling modern things at gun shows, or whether it's just legislation cracking down on that sort of thing.
I think neither. I think they're selling online. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot fewer people who
bigger
are
audience.
interested in taking the time to drag stuff out to a physical show
Yeah.
and put it on a table where a few hundred people are going to see it,
Yeah.
when they can take pictures at home, post it online, and show it to thousands.
Yeah.
One of the other things that came up is like this distinction, and it's not just Rock Island. Some of the other big auction companies also have like a high-end auction and a low-end auction, although none of them will call it low-end. But to my mind, there are some things that, in fact, some of the stuff I'm particularly interested in, you can't find at the high-end auction. Like if you're interested in European military stuff, World War I, World War II, the common guns, the really desirable basic models are going to show up, glorious examples of even rare variations at the high-end auctions. You'll find K98K Mausers,
Yep.
Garens, M1 carbines, the really notable stuff.
The popular stuff.
Yeah, but if you're looking for South American Mausers or like 32 automatic pistols, like this huge variety of 32 autos from the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. A lot of those guns, even the really nice ones, don't command high enough prices to justify going into premier auctions.
So you're saying the unusual guns that you really like aren't as popular, so they don't have higher prices.
Yeah, I may be shooting
Yeah.
myself in the foot.
Yeah. Well, it just doesn't come as any surprise that you, of all people, like the guns that you like.
Well-
oh yeah, there's not a huge, they are the forgotten weapons. They're not the M1 Garand. So,
I'm sorry, they're the good ones.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Everyone else ought to
You're
like
not.
them
There's
too.
a lot of interesting stuff that gets glazed over in the name of because it's easy to find and like an M1 Garand, and it's easy to find and like you said, a K98K. Those were millions and millions produced, and they were very high profile, and it's a lot harder to appreciate a star.
All right, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think a lot of the reason those guns are popular is because there was a lot less information changing hands for most people 30 years ago. I think before we really had the advent of the internet, if you wanted to collect guns, it was only people at a pretty serious level who were getting the dedicated reference books and could tell you, like, what was a Valhalla 32. Most people had like Ian Hogg sort of guns, small arms of the world.
Yeah.
And so they tended to focus on the guns that were most common, that were most recognizable. Like, oh, I want to have a World War II gun collection. That means I need a Luger and a Mauser 98 and an M1 Garand. And that's what people focused on. And I think there was a whole generation of collectors where most of the people went for that sort of
Yeah.
stuff. Today, we have so much better access to information that I think people are much more interested in recognizing how interesting it can be to have a collection that's more obscure.
Yeah.
And that's driving demand for a lot of the more obscure guns.
It's kind of funny when you talk about just the transfer of information. Yeah, before I was a serious gun collector, you would have like maybe a library card.
Right.
If you were a serious gun collector, you better have one.
And good luck finding serious gun books at a library.
Yes. But we've kind of come full circle too when you talk about those were the popular ones, so that's what people collected because because they were common, like you could put your hands on them.
Right.
And so now you can come do, like you said, things like this, like the regional auction or the preview day, like put your hands on them. And so maybe in some way that will drive some of the lesser popular genres of collector firearms.
It also helps that the demand for the common guns, the iconic guns, has driven the prices way up.
Yes.
I mean, there are how many thousands of, well, not thousands, there are easily 100 Lugers in this sale. And virtually every one of them is going for more than $1,500. Because, okay, you want me to be totally blunt
Because
about
they're
it?
Lugers.
Because boomers pay that much for them. Like, I don't necessarily like the term, but in this case, there's a group of people who have decided that that's what they really want. And, you know, a long time ago, it was Civil War guns, and those have fallen off.
I would even equate the World War II popularity with a younger audience. Because when we say boomers and post-World War II, I say this because my father is the very, very youngest era of the baby boomers. He's one of like the final years.
Oh, an
And
actual literal baby boomer.
He is 53. He's born in 53, so he's the very tail end. And his generation is still, he grew up still with all the Old West stuff. So Colts and Winchesters.
Yes.
So when you talk about that generation driving the market, boy, it's all the Old West guns for sure. And we see that. I mean, we see that with, those are the only guns that push 7 figures, essentially. Our Winchesters, our Colts, right now, they are the blue chip guns. Their value is just slow and steady, doing this.
Yeah, well, give it 20 years if you want that stuff, and their value will go like this.
Oh, I hope not.
I'm
Because there's some
sorry.
beautiful pieces.
You can't say that
It's
because
true.
you work for the company. I can say that. Those guns, their day is limited. I would not be investing long term in that sort of thing myself today.
Yeah, and there's museum grade pieces there, and
Oh, there's some
they
gorgeous
find their
ones.
way there.
The problem
but
is there's-
things do change over time.
There's too many gorgeous ones. Like there are so many Winchesters
It
and
was
Colts
the
out
golden
there.
era. I mean, one of those handmade things, those handmade artisans. Yeah, it's almost bygone. There's not entirely. There are still amazing engravers out there.
Yes.
And amazing gunsmiths and gun shops, but yeah, definitely not the industry that it was.
I really think the value on that stuff has been inflated.
Yeah.
Not artificially. I think it's been inflated beyond where it's sustainable.
It'll be interesting to see how that, like you said, once that generation that has driven that market dies off, if the value will fall a little, or if they will, like I said, kind of pass that appreciation, and maybe it'll remain steady. Maybe it will fall. I mean, but the World War II market.
That's
Now that
strong for a
young
long
bucks, I say young bucks, but you know,
Damn kids.
maybe us, and people of our generation are driving thanks to, frankly, a lot of movies and media portrayals and this that. I think those will continue to do well, and the Great War, thanks to the Centennial, thanks to of course channels like Scene Arsenal, thanks to the Great War, and really giving that the exposure that it deserves. So those will go.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a long, strong market for World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam too. The day of
Don't get me
collectible
started.
black rifles is just starting to come into its own.
They are the very earliest ARs are now curio and relic eligible,
Yep. Yeah.
and all the benefits that entails.
Yeah. So we're going to see a lot of that.
I think
There are a few people out there now who are into
Yeah.
collecting like 70s and 80s military rifles.
totally underappreciated right now.
Galils, FNCs, all there's the same sort of variety in AKs that there is in Mausers.
AKs are an encyclopedia unto themselves,
Yeah, and it's
like
hard-
Lugers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like it's almost intimidating how broad that topic can be, and how broad or how very specialized you can be within that field.
Yeah, it's a little harder to get into because they are machine guns.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is built around semi-automatic
Semi-auto
copies.
variants, yeah.
But even there, that's a growing, that's a field of collecting that's on the upswing.
Yeah. So many, just the nations. I'm just thinking of like besides just the size variants, like just all the nations involved with
Yeah.
manufacture of AK pattern
Yeah.
rifles.
Can you picture the day when people are collecting AR-15 lowers by like manufacturer?
Jesus.
There are gonna be people out there collecting goofy one-off AR lowers like Chinese mystery pistols. You're like, this one's got the safety that says pew, 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 no pew.
Giggle switch on, giggle
Yeah.
switch off.
Yeah, exactly.
Lord.
It's coming. It will happen.
I wonder how what'll make those desirable? What'll set those apart? It certainly won't be rarity, because there's those that are already like one-offs that people make as like gags. So what? Like a small production run from like a well-known manufacturer?
I have no idea.
I would think so, because it's the well-known manufacturer. Otherwise, it's everybody making their 80% lower jig made in their garage.
The fun thing is, we'll be the ones sitting around at that point, criticizing how stupid all these young kids are. Back in my day, they were making those, and anyone could make anything, and it wasn't worth nothing, and it was a $30 poverty pony piece of crap.
You could make an AK out of a shovel, and they did it. Jesus.
Wow, that's freakishly good.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
Impressive.
You should see my shovels. They're even better.
So, I think that's pretty rambly. But,
It is. But it's kind of interesting, especially Vietnam and Korea era stuff. Oh, that's super cool. And we talked about, I know, World War II, World War I. Those prices, since we are talking about them, are already going up.
We just talked about labels before we turned on the camera. I was talking about a label being a mismatched label being $1,000 rifle, and Joel's like, "What?" Yeah,
Which
no,
is nuts. When
they
you think
all
of
are.
most like
Holy crap.
non-popular, quote unquote, World War II era rifles, I mean, you can still get Japanese rifles for $400.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
And so to hear of like a French one, not popular stateside.
That's not supposed to be worth crap. What
by
are you
any
talking
means.
about?
Yeah, and here it's $1,000, and I just kind of
Yeah.
taken aback a little bit, and probably mostly because I don't pay particular attention to that genre, despite working at an auction house. I'm sorry, I can't keep track of them all.
To disown you now.
But they may. Won't be the first time. Yeah, labels, the 1911s, and 1911 A1s is, I guess, more specifically what I'm referring to. But holy cow! Good luck trying to find one, even a rough one, for like $1,200.
Yeah.
And I think when I started, which is coming up on 7 years ago, you find a nice 11 or A1 or $800. That's in 7 years, a 50% increase.
Yeah.
Whew. Great time to be a firearms auction house.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. You bastards. So, well, that's what happens when people get interested because they realize the subject's really quite interesting.
Yeah, and frankly, it is.
Yeah. There's a fixed supply and a growing demand.
Yeah. Well, we think about that a lot as far as industry-wise. There's our customer pool, which is good enough to hold some really, really good auctions. But it's nowhere close to, what do they say, there's like 100 million firearms owners in the United States.
Yeah.
That's a huge market, and how many of them are collectors? Like right now, it's a lot of hunters, a lot of everyday carry, maybe some nightstand, bump in the night type guns is the vast majority.
Yeah.
that are buying things. To have the collectors, I mean, if you got 1% of those people interested, think about that.
That's 1 million collectors.
Like what prices would do if you had 1 million more people fighting, not only at Rock Island but all collector auction houses. Like it would just 1 million people.
I can't help but think of what the auctioneer said this morning.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a gaffe, but hilarious, which is, get in now before it goes higher.
You gotta get in. You gotta get in before it goes any higher.
Like, that's not how this works at all.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I mean, sort of.
Ish. That was funny. Pearls of wisdom.
Yes, there you go.
Pearls of wisdom.
All right, guys. Well, this was just some off-the-cuff chatter that hopefully you found vaguely interesting. Although, actually, I know you did, because if you didn't find it interesting, you wouldn't still be watching, and you wouldn't hear me say that. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on camera for a few minutes, Joel.
Yeah.
If you want to find out all the stuff they have, you can check them out at rockislandauction.com. You guys have like an auction monthly now at this point, don't you?
Yep.
It's what, 3 premieres,
Annually, yep.
2
Two
regionals?
sporting and collector.
Sporting and collectors, sorry. And then like 6 or 7 online only
Yep,
auctions.
they've tried to fill those in the remaining months simply because they are
Got too many
growing.
guns.
The inventory keeps coming in, and so instead of making sporting and collector auctions of this size, which this is the February one, whenever you're watching this, it's like 11,000 guns, and it's 4 days, and each day is 1,400 lots, 1,500 lots ish between there.
By the end of the day, all the employees are walking around like zombies.
Largely accurate. We're still ready. We're coming back the next day, but they are long days for sure. And so to maintain our sanity, and hopefully that for buyers too. Where they're putting more and more items in the online auctions, which is good because the quality of those online auctions keeps increasing.
Right. At first, the onlines were like the dumping ground for the total crap.
It was weird. It's everything from literally $50,000 to $5,000, or I'm sorry, from $50 to $5,000. It was. I know you started to wrap up this video, and here we go again. But that's okay.
That's what happens with this sort of thing.
50 to 5,000. It was everything that didn't fit into regular auctions, or things that someone couldn't wait at auction.
Right.
It has to sell right now. We need that money, or we have to settle an estate or probate or whatever. So, the quality has really come up in the online sales, and it also settles generally the common lament of those shopping the sporting and collector auctions of, these guns are selling 4 or 5 at a time. I can't do that, or I can't afford that. Those online auctions are a lot of single guns.
Yeah.
And with the quality increasing, that should be a lot of fun to shop.
Yeah.
At least it is for me.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I always check those things out too.
Sure.
So.
Now I want to mention too, though, that as an employee, when I say I can shop an auction, employees can bid at auction. They are only sealed bids. So we are recognized numerically. It's random. There's no... It removes any impropriety or chance of impropriety. If we can bid sealed, we cannot bid live at an auction.
Good to know.
Which could look really bad.
Yes, it could.
It would look like employees are driving up the prices. So, I'm sure only sealed. Just in case.
Isn't the rule of this sort of business like, don't addict yourself to your own product?
I think it's a rule a lot of places, and I've failed at many of those places. Everywhere you work, you just sort of get a fascination, you start to appreciate what you're working with, and then you
And it's all over.
end up leaving with those things.
Yeah. In lieu of paycheck, just provide me with a bucket of guns every month, please.
I'd be hungry, but I'd be happy.
Yeah. They'd be happy not to have to pay you.
Yeah.
So. All right, guys, we are going to wrap this up for real this time because Joel has to go back to work and I need to do some video editing. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.